Alright guys, so as I said, if you watch the Patreon Hangout, you know that I am changing the format of Metafix to a little bit more of a short form following of me building my teams for competitive events. I'm going to be focusing the live action show here, the Talking Head show, on my teams for Canadian Nationals and pending the possibility for US or for Worlds. Does depend on a number of factors, most important of which being, can I make it? So, that said, it's a matter of figuring out what I want to run. Those of you who were following my Rocktober challenge last year, or what I was doing for Rocktober, I ran a team that involved Devil Dinosaur, woof, just throw everything around the ground, where he would bring out the bystander tokens. He was used in conjunction with a Justice League teleporter. So the tokens would, of course, attract fire, attract attacks, and as a result, that would move the teleporter a little faster to possibly get a real boy out with it. That's the main set strategy goal. Ended up having a Nightwing ID along with two options for real boys, being the Green Lantern and Superman, depending on what my matchup looked like, along with a number of other call-ins such as Green Arrow, very important one to have, I might add, and some other ones that are escaping my memory right now. But Shield level 7, of course, to bring out a Hawkeye, among other things. So, the long and the short of it is that that's a very neato team. I really liked it, but I want to bring it forward into the continued meta. So it was the Devil Dinosaur. It was also included an Al Jordan and a Penguin. The Penguin, of course, just increased the number of bystander tokens I was getting out of the team. Al Jordan was a super awesome perplexer probber, depended on what I needed kind of thing. Now, as well on the team, we had an Ameridroid, because I was going to draw attacks, and when people attack my things, I'm going to use the Ameridroid to put you where I want you so that I can follow up and counterattack strong. I always thought the Ameridroid was a really underrated Colossal Retaliator, and I think he's kind of important to my team in the way it functions, because it does lack a little bit of mobility in some cases. I also had two Carnages, because why not add more bystander tokens for 10 points a pop. This, of course, came with a full complement round table. So for those of you doing the math, it should come out to about 300 points. I believe it is actually exactly 300 points. Let's do the quick math. 190, 40, it's 230, plus 235, or plus 35 is 265, plus the 35 points for a full teleporter. Boom, we got it. All right, problem. Coming into the new meta, we've looked into the Uncanny, or the new X-Men set, X-Men First Class. X-Men First Class, of course, is going to come in with X-Men ID cards, which need to be factored in. It's also going to come with a couple characters that are problematic to picket powers. Now, that means my Al Jordan becomes a problematic element on my team. The reason it's a problematic element is, should somebody choose either Darwin or Leech, they're going to say that I can't pick powers that are super useful and super required for my team. And if they're choosing Darwin, I'm giving away free damage. Now, granted, that free damage could lead to some Colossal Retaliation, but for the most part, I don't think Darwin is really leaving starting areas. So, I mean, I throw Carnage at him, great. I'm maybe giving up 10 points if I can't score the 30 right off the bat. And Darwin does have some defensive powers to back him up. So long and short of it is, I think Al Jordan's a little bit more risk than reward. In addition to which, if you can't beat him, join him. I'm going to throw a Leech on the team. Leech at 30 points is super flexible in the fact that I can turn around and tell my opponent that they can't choose a power that would be really super obnoxious to me. You know, if they have a pick a power and they want to choose, I want to use a Green Arrow on them the next turn, I'm going to make sure that they can't choose Super Senses, that kind of idea. So Leech says you can't choose Super Senses, then I can attack with my Green Arrow unfettered and do a lot of damage with him, to say the least. Because Super Senses is one of the only defense powers that can actually stop him, because Green Arrow has to hit for his power to stop defense powers from working, and if you make that hit with the Green Arrow, you need it to stick, and a Super Sense turns a hit into a miss. So, an important element to note when it comes into these kinds of things. So, long story short, I want to make sure that, one, I can control my opponent's pick powers. and get the powers that I want out of them. And 2, I want to still be able to be as flexible as I was with the Al Jordan. Now, that's going to take a little bit of work. Now, by dropping the Al Jordan, I opened myself up to 90 more points. And with the Leech being added on, I have 60 points left over. And I really have been focusing on trying to make the title Harley work. Mostly because just the fact that she can get a minimum of those 2 of those characters out, those gang of Harleys, you can possibly sit her back and do a lot of really cool things in the back end with some extra perplexes and everything like that. As long as you can get some kind of healing on her, she just really becomes cool with that. And that's one of the elements I want to try to make effective use of. So in order to facilitate this, the round table is what's going to take a major overhaul on my team, in addition to those 2 figures being added on. So the assumption is I'm going to get my hands on a Leech. Somehow, some way, some shape or form, Leech will make my possession. I don't believe he's much rarer than, I don't think he's any higher than a rare. I think he's even an uncommon. And what that means is that I now need to kind of look at what I have on my team and make sure that my round table focuses it a little bit more on the output of a lesser team. So, Green Arrow stays, obviously, as an ID card, and this is going into Canadian Nationals. I'm not thinking about Worlds just yet. That may be but the next episode I cover. But this is all part of that future planning is the end goal of this episode, and you'll see why in a second. Future knowledge and prior kind of thing. Anyway, I'm off track. So the ID card, you gotta have the Green Arrow. That's a given. I'm gonna keep the Superman ID on it for sure. Superman ID is very flexible with the number of Supermen that we have. We have some low point, we have some high point. If I look at an opposing team and I say I'm not gonna be getting to my high point characters or my real boys, it's time to just bring out some lower point Supermen. I will do that because there might be some games where I empty all but 2 of my ID cards onto the table just in order to make my team survive. So that's 2 ID cards already given. So I have, I believe it's 5. No, I have, 5 more, 6 more, 4 more. 6 is the end goal. I get 4 more left to go. So of those 4, one of which is going to be Zatanna, so that I have Prob back on my team. For one, Zatanna comes out with that John Constantine bunny rabbit. So for a turn when I call her in, I've got 2 Probs. Not a bad drawback, or not a bad payoff for that, right? And then once she's gone, I have the permanent tiny Prob with the little bunny. And then Nightwing will stay as an ID card as well, because Tony Zuko and some extra perplex, some support for Harley Quinn is, if I'm going to be standing back 2 title character her up. The goal in this, of course, is to get Harley Quinn to 6 at some point. Still use the Bystanders I have. Still use the Penguin IDs. And the Harley Quinn at late game is going to add to this. Now, I have 2 other ID cards that I'm considering the options with. And that is the Swordsman and the Katana. Now, that, of course, will bring my count up to the full 6. And this is where I get a little tentative. And I'm going to have to... We're testing may or may not make some differences on this matter. The most important element is that I really want to try to get the drop bears to roll some blades with the swordsman. That could just mean that I have to throw some homicide crabs out to move my round table a little more, get some damage dealt to me through attacks, force reactions in some way, shape, or form. That's ultimately how it looks like I have to do it. But that may or may not happen, and trying to force it with the katana and the swordsman could be a little bit of overkill. Plus, late game, it might in the end not be worth it. In addition to which, I lose out on the shield level 7, which is the second most, or is the other super flexible ID card. I have to retest and retry things, but I'm leaning in the area that Swordsman is going to be my my extra ID. For one, I could very well just need Swordsman on a rough particular game. And I don't think the katana just sticks around. Her abilities don't really linger long enough, and Swordsman's kind of the one payoff go, but is more easy to bring in with the team that I am planning on playing. Subsequently, losing out on shield level 7 is probably the most ridiculous idea I could ever consider. So I'm probably not going to. And taking a turn to rest while choosing invisible with the Pogs forces in the late game my opponent to kind of rethink their strategies, because when they're dealing 2, 3, 4, they have to be dealing minimum 3 damage to my Pogs, which moves my round table a little faster to that Superman. These are all the things I'm taking into consideration for this. So as you can imagine, my brain is melting with all of this. And part of this all came from the fact that a single set of figures, that being Darwin and Leech, have both forced a little bit of rethinking of the gameplay stratagem. Leech himself just kind of takes away your flexibility from the pick powers, and Darwin just flat out does damage to them, which means characters like Al Jordan, who don't have a lot of clicks and do have pick power abilities, kind of lose some of their value in that sense. And as well, like, having to choose regeneration for a turn sucks. Nobody wants to choose regeneration. That's terrible. It's a terrible turn. So in addition to which, by gaining Leech, I actually gained a double Outwit. So Outwit was a power my team was kind of lacking, and Leech is tiny, so I add Outwit to the potential on my team. In addition to which, I still have my +2 perplex from Harley Quinn. I just need to be a little bit more careful with it and use a little bit more proper planning with it. So long and the short of it is, this is my plan. This is what's going into the first round of testing for Canadian Nationals, in the hopes that some of this kind of works, and whatever doesn't is where we're going to come back here and discuss our issues. Now, this team could very well work exactly how I want it to. It sounds like the round table is going to be my tweaking device, and it's going to be a matter of getting more games in and seeing what I might be missing on certain things in my team. I mean, there could be games where Harley Quinn's energy explosion could actually work out for me a lot better than I might be giving it credit for. There's just all kinds of things that go into this particular team that go a long way towards my planning. I could very well have to scrap Harley Quinn because her KO ability and her title ability might be problematic. Who knows? So we're going to play it out. We're going to see what happens and go from there and hope that things work out. And if they don't, like I said, the next time you see my face talking about my Canadian Nationals team, we'll readdress that. Next, when I talk about my Worlds team, we of course have to think about a world without a teleporter. And those of you who know me know that I do like to kind of get as many things on the table as I possibly can in order to, one, keep myself on my toes, and two, keep my opponent wondering what the heck is going to happen next. So with that, I want to thank you guys for watching. Hope the new format works out for you guys, and any comments that you have about my team, any ideas that you have for my team, let me know in the comments below. I will either refute or agree and attempt to work around it. That said, I do want to hear your ideas, hear your comments, hear your suggestions, your feedback in general. When we get through a practice round, I will share results in certain degrees where I've come up with problems, where challenges were had, and how I can think about them or how I can meter them in any number of ways. So thank you guys again for watching, and always look forward to things when it comes to these things like previews and whatnot. When you get the information, start planning around the information early, and start planning to practice with some of the figures that are out there, and just in general get some practice games in, because practice will help you make your team better. Have a good night, everybody.